Naman, over to you. What is the first thing that you would want to comment on when we talk about mistakes or hacks for financial wealth for the salaried class?
My views are going to be very controversial.
I proudly share today that I used my money to go on solo trips in Himalayas, in Kerala, to Assam. Went out for lunches with my friends from St. Stephen's College.
Every YouTuber will speak of time value of money. But what we don't realize is the time value of money does not account for your time in this entire life. And therefore, it's extremely critical that people also realize the value of money value of time.
Like this video for Naman. Hi Naman, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Shatakshi. Thank you so much. How are you?
I am doing really well myself. Thank you so much, Naman, for taking out time. We are going to be talking about financial mistakes that salaried class people make, because of which they are not able to move to upper middle class, so on and so forth. And just to set some context, 3 things. First and foremost, for those of you who don't know Naman yet, Naman is the co-founder along with me for Global Governance Initiative. He has worked in United Nations and he has advised leading prime ministers and presidents in Eastern European governments, and of course, he's an investor as well. So thank you so much, Naman, for taking out time.
Absolutely. Delighted to be here.
Perfect. The second thing, just to help build more context about things, there are 2 ends of the spectrum when it comes to wealth. And on both ends of the spectrum, people could go bankrupt. On one left end of the spectrum, there are people who go from riches to rags. Without taking the name, we know of a lot of celebrated or rather infamous people in India who had a lot of wealth but then went bankrupt. On the other end of the spectrum, there are people at the bottom of the pyramid who are never able to come out of the poverty trap. And if you read Economics 101, few of the reasons are lack of financial inclusion, not being part of the savings account in the banking system. But there are still mistakes that people make at the middle of that entire spectrum, the salaried class, because of which very often either they go bankrupt or if not, they're not able to move to the upper middle class, so on and so forth. So that's going to be the major theme of this entire video. And before we start, just to help you understand, if you're always looking to advance your career and salary, feel free to check out GGI Global Governance Initiative.org Impact Fellowship, where you can build a career in management consulting, public policy and product management with live consulting cases and personalized mentorship and employment support. With that, let's get started. Naman, over to you. What is the first thing that you would want to comment on when we talk about mistakes or hacks for financial wealth for the salaried class?
See, the first and foremost, my views are going to be very controversial. But I think it will be a travesty if I am not honest to whosoever is listening or is getting views and opinions formed via this discussion. So please, sincere apologies if you don't agree with my views. But I think I should be honest to begin with. The first thing is that financial wealth is a misnomer, because wealth is not just about finance. Money is one of the many components of wealth. And it is ludicrous that in modern day age, we ascribe and subscribe all value to one of the many parameters, that is money. It's good to have money in the bank, but that is not wealth. Wealth has various other components to it. Wealth should have experiences. Wealth should have mental well-being. Wealth should have good physical health. And all of those things then form the component of wealth. You can't be wealthy if your mother hates you, your family, there's no family support, you're on your 7th wedding anniversary with a 7th wife. That's not wealth. So one thing is, we need to have a clear-cut definition of what does that wealth mean to you. And it is definitely not money for me, and I hope all the viewers also take a good understanding of what is wealth and how is it different from money or money in your bank account.
Correct. I completely subscribe to your point of view. It's a view that we both share, which is that your wealth should not be just limited to money. There are other facets of it. If I were to comment on few mistakes that I made, first and foremost, a lot of YouTubers, financial influencers will talk to you about stocks. I think you should listen to them, but of course be aware but not blindly follow them. I bought my first stock before the pandemic hit, and I think I won a jackpot, because after that the market was at the bottom most when I bought that Tata stock, and then of course after that it jumped up. And then I felt that I am just making a lot of this money from BCG income, where should I put it? And because there was this entire new narrative of purchasing stocks, and one of my stock was actually doing well, I started purchasing few stocks as well. And as a lot of people apply those beta analysis and alpha analysis, I did as well. And till date, few of those either multi-bagger stocks or those penny stocks are in my red zone. And ideally I had thought to actually hold on to them for 2 to 3 years. I'm still holding on to them. It's been more time, and I will hold on to them for 10 years or so, because I don't think that I would want to take a loss on that. We could go on to that entire rationale, should you hold on or not, but that's one mistake I did. After subscribing to a lot of interesting views, and I think it was a very humbling journey for me. It is very hard for you to accept that you could go to St. Stephen's, you could go to BCG, you could advise Tony Blair, but yet you don't know how to pick stocks, right? It's an active journey. You have to become an active stock trader to be able to make money, and very few traders actually make money. And hence I started making more money from index funds, which is the long 10 to 15 year game that I'm trying to make. So that's one. In the same breath, about money, I would want to talk about my lack of accounting. And I very famously shared this, that in my first job I made a lot of money. I was a boutique management consultant, and I lost all my money. I don't know where that money is, and I realized my conundrum. Very interesting, our neighbors are coming here. So I realized my problem when I had to pay my salary or my fees to ISB MBA, and I realized where was all that money. That means that I was not very good at accounting. I very famously say that you should not just save completely, right? There are so many arguments coming up these days. Itna percentage save kar lo, itna percentage bacha lo, itna percentage kharch kar lo. I'm not advocating that, but largely I'm saying is basic bare minimum accounting will just help you keep a track of your expenses, which is something I didn't do and I should have done. So that's the first theme of my mistakes. I completely subscribe to your view that wealth is much more than that. But I want to focus more on your money mistakes or money hacks. So over to you again.
So I think all my mistakes will boil down to how I perceived money from the very beginning. So to understand my financial mistakes, to understand my money mistakes, I think it's extremely critical to understand the context where I grew up in. For me, those mistakes will hold a lot of value. I mean, Isha Ambani, if she were to make mistakes, may not be mistakes for us. So it's very important to understand where does my value system come from. So I grew up in a middle class family, and to be brutally honest, when I went on for my first internship in Delhi, I decided that I will not take an Uber, I will not take an auto, I would rather walk as much as possible. Whenever I went out for dinners or lunches, my only concern was who is going to pay the bill. With my friends, who all is going to be splitting the bill. And in that journey, I decided to not go out on many lunches and dinners. I decided to walk extra miles. And I tried to save as much money as possible so that that money could then be invested or could be perhaps used for my retirement benefits. In the hindsight, I realized it was a mistake. Why? Because in every classroom, be it at Harvard, be it at Stanford, be it at Tuck, be it at Fletcher, you will be taught about a concept called time value of money.
Correct.
Every YouTuber will speak of time value of money. What does that mean? If I put in $1 today in XYZ stock, 15 years later, I will be earning $1,000. What it means is that the present value of money may be less than what the future holds, what the future value holds for that money.
Correct.
But what we don't realize is the time value of money does not account for your time in this entire journey, in this entire life. I can't eat money. I can't have sex with money. I can't have relationship with money. But money is still important. I agree. But money is not the only thing that's important. And therefore, it's extremely critical that people also realize the value of money value of time.
Nice.
Because money value of time, people don't realize this. At the age of 60 or at the age of 70, money will hold a different value for me than what it will hold right now in my 20s. In my 20s, if I can travel a world, if I can go to China on my own, if I can sponsor the visas of my parents to take up their own vacation in XYZ country, the kind of happiness that it will bring for me has no value to how much money is there in my bank account when I'm in my 60s. So in that journey of giving credence or importance to time value of money, we are in a way not living in present. So it's extremely critical to be balanced, to have an approach of money value of time, because your time on this earth is limited. You will not live forever, even though your portfolio will grow forever, even if you were to die today. But your time is limited, and therefore money value of time becomes extremely important. Viewers can re-watch this, watch it at less speed as possible, but do watch this concept. It's extremely important if you were to grow in life.
It's a beautiful, I would say, concept. Like this video for Naman for the money value of time. And I genuinely believe, Naman, this debate will bring a very natural balancing effect on people, because I proudly share today that I used my money to go on solo trips in Himalayas, in Kerala, to Assam, went out for lunches with my friends from St. Stephen's College, bought small indulgences online for my parents. They never accepted that that made them happy, but I know deep down that sari for my mom or that shirt, branded shirt for my dad that he never bought for himself, made him happy. At the same time, if I were to now reflect upon my second theme of mistakes financially with money, there would be that I didn't have a second source of income. And mind you, I'm not talking about passive source of income, right? Which has been just going hungo all over the internet. What I'm largely saying is that when your employer is your only source of income, and Warren Buffett famously said that you are one step away from poverty when you just have one source of income. Not just poverty, but just that amount of stress that you take to bed every night, that you don't like your work, you don't like your boss, perhaps your peers are doing politics against you, yet you have to stay in that ecosystem. You're not growing, you're rather degrowing, right? So for the larger part of my 20s, I never had that second source of income, which eventually I started building, and I never thought that with the blessings of everyone around, I will be able to make my second source of income as a primary source of income. And today I do that with all my passion and love. But see that if you can slowly and steadily write that blog or coach someone if you are credible too. We have been talking about how people who have not taken jobs yet or not cracked their own MBA admissions are actually coaching people, but do something legitimate that can be equally valuable to someone else. And in the same breath, I will want to talk about taxes, which is the number one difference, how money is operated by a salaried class versus someone as a business owner. What we really need to understand is, as you being a salaried class, you are actually taxed on your income, which is your top line. But as an entrepreneur, as a business professional, the Adanis and Ambanis of this country pay a tax on profit, which is that they will get some income, they will have expenses, and after that they will be taxed. So that is another learning that I started having. I'm not talking about tax evasion, I'm talking about tax management. And if you believe you have it in you to become an entrepreneur or business owner over a period of time, it is something that you can also manage. It's the reality that most of the business owners know and salaried class don't know at all. Why was it such a big thing for me? Because I come from a salaried family. My father was in government office, my mother was a homeowner. And once I became a business owner, I realized that the entire salaried class, my father, my brother, my sister, they're all paying a little more tax because they are actually paying it on their income, rather the business owner pays on his or her profits. So that's another mistake or learning that we had, and we are completely sharing it as candidly as we can. So Naman, over to you. What will be your last point with respect to mistakes that many people make in salaried class on money?
And I think one thing that, and it's again a general hypothesis, that usually when you are salaried, you're working for someone, and in those cases you do not have time to do your own due diligence. You usually tend to follow through on the norm. Whatever video is going viral, you might latch onto it, thinking that that's the perfect way to perhaps earn a lot of money. But earning money via money, it's very risky proposition. So I will just repeat what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger have beautifully encapsulated when they have used this sentence multiple times. Be always fearful when others are greedy. Always. And be always greedy, not always, when others are fearful. Right from any bubble that we have seen in the history of humankind, right from when Newton lost his money to now today in the crypto crash, to NFT crash, to now AI crash that will possibly happen. Just because when you are greedy, you're making all the mistakes. Don't be greedy. My goal has always been to just safeguard my money to an extent that I can beat the inflation. I don't have lofty targets that I have to earn 200 or 2000% returns. Of course, that has happened in a very momentous time in history when I invested in certain stocks and certain private companies. But largely speaking, don't aim for returns that are, mammoth returns. Just be realistic in life. Your goal in life is to, hedge risks. Number one, have safe returns, beat inflation, and to an extent have ample amount of time to do whatever you love doing. Your life should not be just about maximizing your returns or a quantitative way to live a life. Money management is one of the million things that you do in your life. You have to earn skill sets, you have to invest in people, you have to invest in relationships, and at the same time you have to also safeguard whatever money that you're making. You can't be investing in terrible risky assets all the time. Hedge your risks, both in life and money, and that has always been my advice, and that is what I have always diligently followed. And that's what I would have to say.
Got it. That's a very beautiful note by Naman, and I completely subscribe to that view as well. From my side, my last theme will be subdivided, Naman, into two parts. There was a time, in fact, just before my 30s were about to start, that I had to get MRI done and many other medical treatments done. And two things happened. For example, when I was in US, my insurance failed, which is that I didn't buy the right insurance for myself. And the another thing that I would want to talk about is get good insurance for yourself. And focus on the word good, eligible, reliable, right? Everyone, there are paid advertisements that are happening on insurance, etc. I'm not calling anything good or bad, but don't delegate your work to just someone else to read through the terms and conditions. No, but that person is not going to come in handy when you will have to have a claim, right? So buying a good insurance and making sure it covers for most of your cases, and which makes sense because you're put at that money to eventually use it when the rainy day comes. And at the last, I would want to say that ever since, Naman, I have started realizing that I need X amount of money in my life, and I have a run rate in some shape or format. In some years, I will reach there. That thought has just brought so much peace to me, and peace with my relationship, or overall with my career, and overall with whatever salary that I'm drawing, is something that I would advise everyone to do. And don't be anxious that I am just 27, I'm nowhere near that run rate, right? Warren Buffett actually became one of the richest people, or gained most of his wealth after his 80. People often say that it is not a glorious thing to be old and rich, but what if you're old and poor? That's also not a great state to be in. So have that calculative rough number in mind, have a run rate around it, and you will be shocked how much peace that brings to you. It has brought peace to me, and hence I actively advise it. So those are few mistakes that Naman and I had to share about our 20s. Naman, happy to have last remarks from you as we wrap up this podcast, and it's always amazing to get your unique perspectives around not time value of money, but money value of time. Over to you if you want to have any last words.
I think you're right about devoiding all the anxieties. Unfortunately, what's happening is, in the world that we live in, it is sadly driven by algorithms. And these algorithms are designed in a way that will promote envy. These algorithms will promote jealousy. It will promote wrath, anxiety. And that is perhaps the reason the videos that go viral on YouTube or Instagram are those, how I made my first crore or 2 crore, how can you make your 15th crore, so on and so forth. And that is why there is a lot of anxiety amongst youngsters. See, compounding in life should not be just about compounding in money. It should be about compounding in relationships, compounding in health, compounding in your experiences. That is how you live a really good life. So, art, if possible, to not be bogged down by all the thumbnails or all the viral reels that you come across and stumble upon about how I made my 15 crore before my 15th birthday, because all of that is nonsense, because that's not how you should live a life. Everyone is unique, everyone has a different way to live a life, everyone has different struggles. So, don't compare, just follow your own unique strategy, play safe in life, take care of your parents, take care of your siblings, and live a healthy life, live a wise life, and that is how you will live a rich life. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
I completely concur to that views, Naman, and I quickly thought of, we both know the name of the person, I'll not take it. We met her, she's someone who's I think in her 15s or 16s. She got 10 million subscribers on Instagram, and you might get envy after looking at her life. She's getting all the Audis of the world, but deep down when you talk to her, the biggest problem is that how she's handling hate at an age of 15 and 16. So Naman is right, you might actually get envious of someone's life from a distance. It's their job to sell envy, but do know that everyone is going through their own unique struggles, own unique pain. Everyone's path is unique, so is yours, so is ours. This podcast was completely antagonist to know it all. However, Naman and I have learned few basic things, fundamental things in our 20s. Keep subscribed to this channel to know how we learn to live or have a relationship with money in our 30s as well. And we will keep you updated in as candid format as possible.
And like this video if you also agree with the fact or like the fact that Shatakshi does not use Apple.
Yes, cheap as dash. Thank you so much. Ciao.